Welcome to the Refine and Shine, the podcast dedicated to mastering the art of continuous improvement and optimizing every aspect of your life. I'm Angelina Rivera, your host, and together we'll uncover the secrets to refining our lives, our habits, and our processes to unlock our inner brilliance. Join us on Refine and Shine, where we'll delve deep into achieving more in life without the burnout and without all the stress. This podcast is your platform for a more fulfilling life through continuous improvement and personal growth. In each episode, I and a diverse array of guests discuss practical strategies for up-leveling every aspect of your life. From developing good habits and organizing your space to refining your mindset and personal goals, we're going to explore it all. Our guests share personal stories about the systems they've developed or systems they've used and the tweaks they've made in their lives when refinement was needed, allowing them to truly shine. Listen to Refine and Shine to learn how you can implement continuous improvement techniques in your daily routine, develop and maintain healthy habits that lead to success and satisfaction, organize your life to reduce the stress and increase your productivity, foster a growth mindset that propels you to new heights. My mission is to inspire you to take bold action, make positive changes, and become the best version of yourself. Whether you're aiming to elevate your career, nurture meaningful relationships, or enhance your overall well-being, Refine and Shine is your guiding light. With over 25 years of experience in continuous improvement, I help businesses streamline their processes, establish efficient work areas, and implement standard work protocols. I have trained over 600 individuals and teams in process improvement, optimizing workflows, and enhancing overall operational efficiency. Tune in every week as we embark on an enlightening journey, exploring paths to refinement and illuminating the way to shine in every area of our lives. Subscribe now and join us on this journey to polish your life and let your best self shine through. Thank you for joining us on Refine and Shine. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of Refine and Shine podcast. I am so excited for my guest today. We have been talking and chatting it up. We actually got to meet through social media. We met through Threads, and we've had many conversations and actually became really good friends. And so that is the amazing thing with social media, is that you don't just get to watch people, you can actually engage with them and make these interesting relationships. But my friend today, my guest, is Gladian Rivera. She is an operations consultant and founder of Obsidian Rising LLC, where she partners with small to emerging businesses to strengthen their internal operations, increase overall operational effectiveness, and build durable internal systems. With over 20 years of experience spanning public service, corrections, healthcare, and federal programs, her work has included designing trauma-informed initiatives, modernizing onboarding and SOPs, and supporting large-scale workforce and reentry efforts. Today, Gladian focuses on helping organizations navigate growth and change with clarity, drawing on strategic operation consulting and emerging tools, including AI-enabled workflows to support smarter and more sustainable operations. She is also the author of the newly released book, The Sovereign Leader, Leading from Inner Authority After the Forge, which is available on Amazon. And we'll talk about that a little bit later, but this is what it looks like right here. So thank you, Gladian, for being here today.
Thank you so much for having me. It's always a pleasure speaking with you.
Oh, I know. I mean, thank you too. It's a pleasure speaking with you as well. I just love the vibe that we have with each other. And I know why you got started, but I would love for my listeners to know, what is the story behind how you got started in the field that you're working in today?
Thank you. So I am an operations consultant, and I realized that I had a knack and a gift, right? So for every position that I have been, from NGOs, state government, and federal government, I was always given a task of creating something novel that had never been done before. So it was either establishing a program in the correctional system, in which case I created the HEARTS program at the Edna Mahan Correctional Facility in New Jersey, all the way to helping establish the hospital violence intervention program at a hospital in New Jersey as well. And finally co-creating and establishing a reentry court program for the Eastern District of New York, which earned me the 2024 DOJ Director's Award. And so that was the through line. It was seeing that for every place that I was in, I was a creative spirit. I was in charge and tasked to create these programs and operationalize them most effectively. And I fell in love with it. And so I want to bring that value to small businesses and those emerging mid markets so that they can know what it's like when you're being able to operate effectively and have those SOPs established. And I can continue on this, but my second passion is working with AI as a power user. And we just had this conversation for over an hour. I'm convincing Angelina to go into Claude. It's fantastic. And I love what I do. I love connecting with people. And it's just a blessing.
I really enjoyed and love everything that you said, because what's important is that you were given these talents, and God gives us each these talents or gifts, whatever you want to call it. And it is our ability, our due diligence, really, to use them to the best of our ability. And you have found that there is a need out there, especially for these small emerging businesses who may not be able to hire somebody to do this work for them full time, but that's where they can hire a consultant who can help get them started and get get them up and running and moving more efficiently. And that's where you come in. And I think that's so important, because you found that there's a need and you love doing this, which is like the best of both worlds. So I really love that. And I love watching when you post and you all the things that you're building with, your AI, and how you just all the things that you've created. I think is just amazing. I'm in awe of it. I'm learning different things about AI, and you did pretty much convince me to get Claude as well. So I will have that, as well as my other assistant chat, as part of my way of moving forward, because I think it's a lot of people are so scared to use AI. And what would you say is the most common misconception about AI?
Oh, that's a really good question. I think that the most common misconception about AI is that it's going to replace you. And I always tell people that AI is great, but it can never replace the wisdom and discernment a person has. It can never replace the way you answer to a crisis. It can never replace the way that you sit with someone who needs support. And although there is a number of people that use ChatGPT and get support, it's not the same as having that human connection that AI could never replicate.
So good, so good. And I agree with you. Like, a lot of people are fearful, like, oh, it's going to replace me, or all of these things. But that human connection is one of the things that can never be replaced. The thing is, I use it for is to just make my job a little bit easier. As somebody who works full time, has a consulting business and a podcast and things like that, it helps me to stay organized. It helps me to, you know, the other day, my husband, who's so against AI, we were looking up something, and he's like, "Can you just use that AI thing to help you?" And I'm like, "Oh, the one you don't like." But it helped us organize some of the things that we were looking for, and it made it so quick to find it. One of the things I also love for it is when we're watching something and we're talking about trivia, and like, what was that episode where this happened, or what's the song? In fact, the other day we were listening to a song and it had my name in it. And I'm like, does it have my name on it? And it was easy just to look for it and for AI. So there's things that you can use it for, but it's not, you don't live your life by it. Like, there's ways that you can make it to just make things more efficient in your life. And I think that that's what people need to remember. You still need to go and greet people. You need to go outside and talk to people and build those relationships, because you never know, if you build that one relationship, where later on down the line they may be able to refer you to somebody else. AI cannot do that for you.
Absolutely, absolutely. And my son, he is Generation Alpha. He dislikes AI, and it's almost like this massive contrast between someone who's so young, who's so opposed to AI, whereas I, on the other hand, I maintain a level of neutrality. So I don't catastrophize it and I don't glamorize it, because I know the realities of AI. I understand the environmental impact it has on society. I also equally understand how it can be used for nefarious reasons. And so I'm always all about use discernment, use your wisdom. Is this something that can help you, or is it going to regress where you're at? Right. And I think that is the key component. Anything that you do can become addictive. So like sitting down, using a chatbot, let's say ChatGPT on a daily basis, it can become addictive. But when you can move from that type of user mentality into now you're building your own web apps, your own apps, your own website, your own automations, your own agents, it's fantastic.
Mm. Yeah, so good, so good. What I would love for you to tell us about is how do you help as a consultant? How do you help these small emerging businesses? What are the services that you offer, and what are the ways you can help them?
That's a fantastic question. So I provide different services, anywhere from doing a diagnostic relevant to where the bottlenecks are. Sometimes we are the very managers, the very CEOs, the very executive leaders, we become the bottlenecks of the organization without knowing it. Now, what I like to do is conduct a diagnosis. Where is the bottleneck? Is it a tech stack issue? Is it more of a communication issue? Is it that there is a lack of documentation? Is it that the onboarding process was not as streamlined or effective? And so I look at various facets. I'm accustomed to working in more high level. So I know how HR works, how IT works, how budget works, how a full administration unit is supposed to run flawlessly. And so I bring that knowledge to the fold as well. But working with a solopreneur is different. They have different needs. They're doing absolutely everything from branding, marketing, content strategy, working in their business. Some of them get to work remotely. Some of them have a brick and mortar. And so what I do is that I sit down with them and identify where the root causes of the problems are. And I create processes for them. The only time that I introduce AI is only when it makes sense and is not going to take such a huge toll on the cost for that person. I will never recommend a massive tech stack that someone cannot afford or fully understand. I would never tell someone, oh, you need to sign up for this class and it's several thousands of dollars, because that is not how I work. For me, the value comes in how can I support a business make the money, because it supports everyone. Whenever you
Mhm.
have thriving businesses, you have a thriving state. And when you have a thriving state, you have happy citizens.
Yeah, I think that's so important. And I love that you said, like, a lot of the times that it's the higher managers who are the bottlenecks, but they are so close to the process and they're so into it that they don't understand what that they may be a bottleneck. And so really going through, and as an outsider, what I think is so important for when if you're a business owner and you're out there and there's something that keeps you up at night, there's that process or whatever it is that you keep, like nothing's working right. You may be the bottleneck, and I know that that's sometimes hard to admit, but have an outsider come in and walk through that process with you, and talk to the stakeholders, talk to the people that are doing the things, and you will see that majority of the time it's not a people problem, it is a process problem, and there's just some things, little tweaks. An outsider comes in, they're not fully invested in it. They're not the ones that are going to be offended or hurt or any of those things. They're just taking an outside perspective in, and that's sometimes what we all need. I know, like, when I look at something and I might like my website, for example, as a solo entrepreneur, I'm updating my website. I never just think, okay, it's good. I always have to have somebody else look at it because there's something I may miss. And I'm like, hey, can you make sure all my links work? Can you make sure we need that third party sometimes validation? And that's what a consultant is they can go in as a third party, unbiased, and just help you get through, walk through those processes, rip off the band-aids that we've been putting on things for so long, and just really help you get to a sustainable system. I think
Is your business constantly busy, but still inefficient? If your team is working hard but things keep falling through the cracks, it's not a people problem, it's a process problem. This is where Refine Consulting comes in. I help businesses simplify operations and build systems that actually work. Here's how I do it, in just a few days. First, we get clarity. We identify where your time, energy, and money are being wasted. Then, we map your process, step by step, so you can actually see what's happening. Next, we simplify. We cut out delays, redundancies, and anything that's slowing you down. Then we build a system your team can follow, so everything doesn't depend on you. And finally, we implement, so you walk away with a clear plan and real results. No more guessing, no more chaos, just better systems. If you're ready to streamline your business and get your time back, go to refineconsultingllc.com and book your free discovery call. Let's refine your processes and help you shine.
That's so important. And I love that you do that because it's so needed. And I think a lot of people don't realize that their SOPs could need some tweaks. I think that people should just like, when you spring clean, you should have a date where you just go through all your SOPs, not maybe all of them at once, but maybe we handle 10 at this time. And then 6 months later, we do another 10. We constantly need to look at, are we doing the things that we say we're doing, right?
Absolutely. And so in the line of work that I worked in, I have to bring to the fold that I was working in high stakes and restricted environments. So I was navigating red tape. And so our SOPs had to be modeled after the internal policies, right? And those policies, of course, have to be modeled again for the laws that were established, right? And so from the correctional side, right, you have a policy that explains that you cannot do X, Y, Z. How do you translate that to an SOP? And you also want at the bottom of the SOP to have any other documentation that is pertinent and associated to that particular process. In some businesses and other venues, they'll create SOPs based on the title of the individual, which makes sense too, but also have SOPs for every infrastructure that you can think of. Because in the event of, let's say, another pandemic, you want to be able to go back and see this is the way that we operated during a season where a lot of people were working remotely, and this is how we can reestablish a similar process. And now with AI, you can do so much of that, where you can create a GPT, as I was sharing with you, that holds the brain of the business that you can share with your colleagues and with your employees. So for instance, if you're a CEO and you keep getting a lot of people coming to you with questions, create a GPT. What are the general questions that you're constantly being asked? Send that link to your team so that they have an ability in the event that they cannot reach you, so that they can tap into that knowledge base.
And that's something that you can help these business owners with. I have never even thought of doing it that way. And I actually love that, because when I was in production and I would be getting calls on this or that, and I'm like, okay, the same thing over and over, I could have created a GPT, and help them answer those frequently asked questions, especially because I had a night shift too. So if it was what happens if we run out of paint, or the air compressor shuts down, or all of these little things that would be asked every 3 months when we would rotate people, because those simple things, even though they had an SOP on how to do things, sometimes people panic and they don't think it, and it's easier just to pick up the phone and call want to get that immediate answer. I think it's important. Another thing that I think is so important about SOPs and why they need to be put into place is you don't ever want to have a single point of failure. If only one person knows how to do something, and I call it the bus test. If they get hit by a bus, could your business operate without them? And I know that that's a sad way to say that, but that's just reality of life. And you just want to make sure that your business can pass the bus test. And so that means you want to make sure that you have those SOPs in place and that everybody knows how to do the jobs, because I think single points of failure you cannot have. It just doesn't work that way.
Absolutely. And in my blog, I write something very similar, but I label it as tribal knowledge. Is when you have one or two people that contain the knowledge of their processes, and either they feel uncomfortable sharing that information, or they feel like there's no need to share that information, or sometimes they feel that their value as an employee will decrease if people know what they do. However, if you have Sophia running budget and one day she is sick and she's the only person that understands a particular process and budget, what happens if she's out for 3 to 6 months? Right. And so what you want to be able to do is have something in place with us constantly a streamline of operations that flows effectively. You want something that runs without you.
Mm-hmm. So you can take that vacation.
Exactly.
And it's crazy because we were kind of talking about this earlier before we started recording, is that so many business owners, Like they go into business because they want freedom, but then they want their hands into every single thing, or then they complain because they are involved in every single thing, and that's where your GPT can come in. That's where you have your SOPs come in, so that you can take the vacation that you so well deserved, and actually not have to have your laptop with you, your whatever else with you, so that you can just rest on that beach with that special drink that you want to have and read your book. That's just how I vision a vacation.
Exactly. And so ultimately, you want to create the process, automate the process, and then delegate it, right? You can delegate it to an employee. And now with AI, you can even delegate to AI tools. But I'm not going to get into that because that would be like a 5-hour lecture because I'm so passionate about that.
Yeah, but then that's the thing, is that's the something that if you're a business owner and you're listening to this, a solo entrepreneur, and you're listening to this is where, if you're like, oh, this sounds great, then this is where you need to connect with Gladian, because she will help you with this. One of the things I wanted to back up just a little bit is you talked about your blog. Can you talk about a little bit about where we can find your blog and how we can sign up for that?
Absolutely. So my website is obsidianrisingllc.com, and the Insights tab has a listing of different blogs, all tackling anywhere from leadership, AI, process optimization, tribal knowledge. I even include psychological safety because more often than not, we want to create well-established structures that help employees thrive. If employees don't thrive, the processes will not thrive. You can have the best process, but if there's no psychological safety in place, there's going to be an issue, right? And so if you want to register for my mailing list, you go to the website, register there, and every week you're going to get a snippet of the blog, 5 to 8 AI tools, and once a month I also circulate information of available grants for businesses.
I love that. I think that's so important. And so I will definitely have that link in the show notes, as well as all your links, because I think it's important. I myself am going to sign up for that because I didn't even put that together, that you had a blog, because I need that as well for me. So thank you for sharing that. One of the things that I wanted to talk about too is your book that you just had come out, this book right here. Yeah, can you tell my listeners a little bit about this book and what it's about and who it's for?
Absolutely. So, The Sovereign Leader, Leading from Inner Authority After the Forge, was a work that I invested my heart in. And so it's about navigating high stakes environments. Now, at a point when I was in my earlier career, I was a critical incident stress management team leader, and I assembled and deployed teams in the immediate aftermath of crises in the correctional system. Those crises range from inmate on staff assault, correctional officer, police officer suicides, all the way to situations that the team would be called upon. And I talk about the burnout, the vicarious trauma, the compassion fatigue that first responders go through. But equally, I talk about a process that was very impactful for me. You see, I thought that working in this setting, I needed to be hardened. I needed to be a specific type of person. And through the process of my journey, I realized that people will respect you when you are authentic. You don't have to carry a wall around. And you also have to understand that when you're dealing with these high stakes environments, that they're going to change you. And so it's really up to you to take the steps to always go back to who you truly are. And I've worked with police officers, first responders. I worked in the trauma unit as well. And so this is a consistent theme where the helper generally feels that they're given so much. What are they getting? That compassion fatigue is real. It exists. And I hope that whoever is listening to this, if you're working in these sectors, first and foremost, thank you for your service. And I hope that this book can help you.
Yeah, and when I was reading it, I'm about one third of the way through it. But one of the things, I mean, you have been involved with this and been pretty much studying this, or being, a student of this for quite some time. I mean, even when you were in junior ROTC and ROTC programs, the things that your master sergeant would say, and all the things that you had carried with you. One of the things I picked up on when it said pay less attention to what people say and watch what they do. He said it every day, and I think that was pretty interesting. I highlighted
Yes,
that.
yes. So I'll tell you this, every day that we would go to class for JROTC, we would stand up and obviously we would read on the board. I pay less attention to what people say and watch what they do. I didn't know how impactful that statement was going to be because as you navigate either career or life or anything in particular, you're going to meet people who, whether they're doing it without realizing or they're doing it for nefarious reasons, they'll say things. They want to sugarcoat things. They want to make you feel comfortable, right? But look at the actions. The actions is what's going to tell you truly who that person is. Are they keeping the word? Are they treating others with respect? Do they engage in gossip, right? Are they in a position of authority where they're manipulating outcomes, right? And so be observant. You don't have to confront people, but take a step back, be observant, pay attention, put your ears to the ground and your eyes open. That is something that we used to say. And, learn to read the room. And so to me, the gift of having worked in corrections is that I've learned to read people, to read rooms, to read environments, to understand, oh, something is shifting here and it's time for me to exit. So every hurdle, every obstacle that I encounter in all these high stakes environments, as I write in the book, carried very significant lessons. Chief among them, and equally important, is how to maintain composure during very stressful incidents. And one thing I mentioned to you before, Angelina, is that I also work with crime victims. And my specialty early on in my career was working with crime victims of sexual victimization. And so imagine you're listening to a very heavy story, but you have to maintain a stoic composure. And so for me, reading the book of Meditations by Marcus Aurelius was very significant because it helped me be able to connect with people, listen to their pain, and be able to provide that support. But I had to also learn not to carry that with me.
Yeah, I think that's so important. And because, as we, even with, I didn't work in that type of environment, but like in the production environment, just even just carrying some of the issues that happened. There was just sometimes some crazy stuff that would happen. And it was just like trying to like not take that home with your family, right? And try to be like you had a hard day, there was a bunch of stuff or stuff that you couldn't talk about, maybe an investigation that you were overseeing, and then just trying to separate that so that you were present as a wife and a mom, once you got home. It is really a hard to do at times. And so I think that's why I think I'm like really taking the time to read this book. And like for me, I will be honest, some parts of it like have me reflecting back on some of the issues that I went through and just trying to like, calm myself down or see how did I approach it right, or, and am I doing the right things, or did I handle it properly? Because you'll judge yourself and it's done with, but it's like one of the things I know as when I go somewhere and people always comment on this, I always look like be aware of your surroundings. And I always look if something was to happen, because I've been involved where there has been bomb threats and things like that, like how can I escape, or like where can I go? And I always look at the exits. And that's like people are like, you're so weird for thinking that. I'm like, no, it's just because it's part of like a little bit of trauma that that I've encountered. And so you always want to know, like, where do I go? Like, where's the restroom and where do I exit? Some of the things, it's just the way that it's because of our experiences, right? Our lived experiences. One of the things that you talk about is about burnout. It's helping with the burnout. And so what's one practice that leaders can implement today to prevent the burnout?
That's a really good question. So when we look at burnout, we're looking at a series of instances that have let you as a person feel like, oh my gosh, I have hit a threshold and I cannot push through it. First and foremost, I'm always going to recommend seeking a higher level of mental health care, connecting with a counselor. Secondly, when you look at your workload, see what is something that you can delegate. And that is so important because so many leaders feel, and I'm not certain if it's through fear or if they feel that that is a position that they have to have in terms of overseeing the work all the time. Uh, See what you can delegate, see what you can give up, see and start freeing your schedule. Okay. When you become the central hub, if you are the CEO or if you are in management where everything has to go through you all the time and you're the central hub for all the questions, what's going to end up happening not only is that you're going to burn out at a much quicker pace than others, but you're also going to realize that is a control issue. You have to let go. You have to let people grow. The reason why you hired your people is for them to do and excel in whatever it is that they do. And so if I were to give another insight other than seeking a higher level of mental health care, should the symptoms elevate, because with burnout, what you're going to see is that there are some symptoms that are very similar to depression. So again, you need a mental health counselor for that. You also want to see how your processes are and how you can delegate. But equally important, it's very important for you to take care of yourself. Self-care is so fundamental, and I cannot emphasize that enough. And self-care is going to look differently for everyone. Think about your positive and your coping mechanisms. Your positive and negative coping mechanisms. Sometimes those negative coping mechanisms like smoking, drinking, doing drugs, they're going to have a longer term impact that is negative to you psychologically, emotionally, and physically. So you want to look at what you can do to cope better. Working out, meditating, talking with friends. You can do martial arts, dance, do art, whatever it is that you need to do. And the last thing I would say is that if self-care becomes such a burden on top of your already busy schedule, that's going to be another problem. So you have to allocate self-care as part of your day-to-day lifestyle.
Yes, absolutely. That's such a great answer, because one of the things that I had to learn from burning out myself was I had a schedule, and I always tell people, as I teach people in my time management program, is the first thing that you always schedule every week on your calendar is your self care. And I'm talking, it doesn't need talking about nails and all the other things. Like, I'm talking about, when are you going to walk? What are you going to eat? Some people overschedule themselves so much that they don't even make sure they have time to eat. And so you got to, like, what, not only when am I going to eat, what am I going to eat? Like, getting all that done. How many hours am I going to sleep? Like, that is so important. And I always think about, like, you can't pour from an empty cup. And if you're not taking care of yourself, how do you expect your business to run? Like, is it going to, you can't have that longevity of life if you're not taking care of yourself now, because what you do today matters for what tomorrow is going to bring. And so I think that that's so important. Take your walks, take some time to transition when you go from work into your house, like, get some time to transition. Because you don't want to take in any of the negative energy that you have from your bad work day or a bad meeting into the next meeting or even into your home. I think that that's so important. And that, again, is where that GPT can come in and help answer those frequently asked questions or help with other things. And I think that another thing I always tell people is that you don't have to do everything. Like, if I'm not good at QuickBooks, my finances, things like that, I'm going to give it to another person to do, because that will give me more time to do the things that I am, able to do, like record my podcast or things like that. And there are things that only we can do. Those are our God-given talents. And so should be doing those. There are things that we can just take off our plate. We don't really need to do them. We just need to delete them. There are things to delegate. And there are people, like, even for ourselves, solo entrepreneurs out there, you don't always have to go to the grocery store. Like, there is Instacart, DoorDash, all of these other things that you can do. And that can allow you more time to get that walk in, or, go to the gym for an hour. One of the things I do is I was realizing I was spending so much time picking up medications. It was just a bottleneck, so to speak. And so I was like, I'm going to pay the $5 and get it picked up, because when and that way allows me to work on other things. So as solo entrepreneurs and business owners, just really think, and are you at that point where you're burning out? Are you not sleeping at night? Are you, like, feeling anxiety? Check your blood pressure, like, all of these things. You want to make sure that you don't have the burnout. And if you're at that stage, like she said, seek your mental health health help, and look at like, what can I do? Maybe I need to hire a consultant to help me with some of these things. Maybe I am the bottleneck. Like, there's so many things out there that you can, because our goal is for you to be a successful business owner. Small, medium-sized businesses struggle enough as it is, but they make up 98% of the businesses out there. And we want them to rise and thrive. And so I think that's so important. One of the things I wanted to ask you was, when you wrote this book, what was the hardest part of writing the book?
Oh my gosh. There were times in this book where I wanted to put so much more out there. And for me, it was a very cathartic process. It was almost like this massive project of looking introspectively about all of my career, all of the different situations that I had encountered, and extracting those lessons. And that took a lot of time because when you're writing from a place of, oh, I know it all, there's no authenticity there. I had to really sit down and think about the first instance in the chapel incident, which is how I open up the book.
Mhm.
I'm running a group, 15 participants, all male incarcerated individuals. To the left, there's another room with another group of people doing religious services. And outside, there was a line of incarcerated individuals about to go into the chapel. And so that experience, the moment that I go to the right room and I'm standing there with my colleague, and suddenly I hear this commotion and those participants in my group saying, Miss Rivera, you need to come out, and noticing how they created this safe passage for us to get to the door, which it wasn't far. It was maybe about 10 feet away from the entrance on the right door. And I thought, oh, well, it's because they respect me, right? It's because I hold this position. And then coming to the realization, no, they saw the humanity because we had about 80 plus people in that room, in that chapel room. And so it was a moment of reflecting on all my different mistakes that I had made, on how I was showing up. And that was the hardest part, is recognizing, oh, I should have done this a little bit differently. And so it was almost like a process that catapulted me into growth, into, yes, I now know how to lead a lot better because I can lead in very high stakes environments. I can lead with empathy and control, self control, I mean. But more importantly, I can be the leader that I always wanted to be. That's the emerging aspect of this book, is you don't have to think that you need to become someone. You are already that person. It's just there waiting to come out.
Mhm. Yes, so good. I like absolutely love it. And one of the things I also love too is going back to the book is that you've also have a lot of sources in there too. So like reflecting on those, and I'm like reading and looking up the source. Like you mentioned the sources, you and I'm like, okay, like there's a lot to take in. And I, like I said to you when I was reading it, there was stories that I had to go back and reflect on. And I'm like, how did I show up as a female manager in in a male dominated manufacturing industry? And so a lot of things came from that. And I think that just really, really good book. I know that we had talked about it probably in January or February timeframe. And then when you said it was coming out, like you really put yourself in it, got it done. I think if you remember right, you rewrote and wrote it and then all the things. And I think that's, because you wanted as perfect as you could get piece out there. And it was just really that time that you had to reflect, and maybe even a little bit for me when I was reading it, some of that trauma came up a little bit for me about like the past incidents that had occurred, so really, really good book. But
Thank you.
you're welcome. As we wrap up, I wanted to ask you again, how can you just remind people of the services that you provide?
Absolutely. I am an operations consultant and I work with businesses in establishing better processes. So that could look like creating SOPs, streamlining onboarding processes, ensuring that those that are getting onboarding can start the work immediately, not having to wait several months after. And that is something I had to learn working in the federal system. I also look at anywhere between policy drafting, I look at AI implementation, again, when necessary and if needed, if there are certain workflows that maybe you don't know that LLM or large language model has that can benefit you and or your business, that's something that I can do. So essentially, I look at the entire process from a solopreneur all the way to a company, how different departments collaborate. For instance, is it like, do you have a word that one department uses, but it's not the same word as another department uses? And then there's conflict there because you have someone in finance trying to understand where the disparity is, right? And so it's about looking at the culture, looking at the leadership, looking at the operations, identifying those gaps, identifying those bottlenecks, and just creating something with better structure. And again, that's my gift. That's what I bring to the world. And I hope that, that resonates with everyone.
Yes, and I wanted just to ask, your services can be in person or they can be virtual as well, correct?
Correct. So I am in New Jersey. So I do in person in New Jersey, virtual with other states. But if needed, let's say that you are calling me from, I don't know, California, because hopefully I get to see you in person. That is something that can be arranged. That would be dependent on the needs of the business.
Yeah. Awesome. So, listeners, if you're the business owner and this resonates with you, please connect. Follow her in the show notes. She'll have all her information. Connect with her. Sign up for that blog as well. I just highly recommend that. But the last question I wanted to ask you is, what is one thing that my listeners can do today in order to help them refine and shine?
Read my book. So, no, but I'm being very serious here. The book, The Sovereign Leader, as I mentioned, it was a process. It was something that I had to tap into for my own self-growth. And I extrapolate from Marcus Aurelius and his book of Meditations. I also tapped into Robert Greene in his work relevant to either the 40 Days of Power and other books like Mastery, for example. I tapped into different individuals that help shape me as a person and as a leader and the way that I operate. So if you want a good introduction, that would be a book that I highly recommend for you to read. And more importantly, for you to let me know how it helped you and how do you think it can help other people.
Yes. Can I read part of the back cover? Because I think it's important.
Of course.
The sovereign leader is not about tearing down the systems you served. It's about reclaiming the person who served them. Your most difficult experiences did not break you. They built you. This book shows you how to lead from everything they produced. I think that's so powerful. So I wanted to share that.
Thank you so much.
Well, I thank you for being an amazing guest, and I just cannot wait for us to continue. We have a friendship now, so I'm glad for that. And I would love to have you back on the podcast a little bit later, and just for us to talk more. Maybe we'll talk more about AI on that one. So thank you so much.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me.
You're welcome.
Thank you for joining us on this episode of Refine and Shine. We hope you find valuable insights and inspiration to fuel your journey of continuous improvement. Remember, the key to success lies in refining your processes and letting your inner brilliance shine. If you've enjoyed this episode, be sure to subscribe to the podcast and leave a review. Your feedback is greatly appreciated and helps us reach more listeners like you who are eager to refine and shine in all areas of life. Stay connected with us on social media for updates and additional resources and behind-the-scenes content. We love hearing from our listeners, so feel free to reach out with any suggestions, questions, or success stories you'd like to share. As we wrap up, remember that the power to transform your life lies within you. Keep striving for growth, embracing change, and seeking opportunities to refine your skills. Together, let's continue to shine bright and make a positive impact in the world. Until next time, keep refining and keep shining.